Welcome to Reflection for Thursday of the third week of Lent. Our first reading today comes from Jeremiah, and I love Jeremiah, just the realness with which he writes and speaks at times. And today's reading is very, very blunt about how God's people have failed to do what they're supposed to do. The first part of our reading today says, "Thus says the Lord, this is what I commanded my people. Listen to my voice, then I will be your God, you shall be my people." We've heard that over and over again in the Exodus. Do what I've told you, I'll take care of it. But they obeyed not, nor did they pay heed. They walked in the hardness of their evil hearts and turned their backs, not their faces, to me. Kept choosing sin. Again, every prophet is around the time of the exile, where they're going to have to pay the price for their sin. What we have drawn to their mind is from the day that your fathers left the land of Egypt, even to this day, again, the idea of pilgrimage, and again, that pivotal point of our history, the point at which we keep going back to help us understand what God is doing throughout all of our history, but then especially in the life of Christ, references. He said, "I sent you entirely all my servants, the prophets, yet they have not obeyed me nor paid heed." Jesus gives us a few different teachings of multiple people being sent to God's people and servants. We're given different parables, a little bit different language at times, but he emphasizes in them that people kept failing to receive, kept doing not what they were told to do, kept disobeying. This is a beautiful time to examine our life. Where are we not obeying? Now, we also, of course, by God's grace, want to thank him where we are. We do want to acknowledge that, especially if you're somebody who struggles with scrupulosity or focuses more on your sinfulness. We have to acknowledge where God is with us. But we want him to show us, where am I not being who I'm supposed to be? Of course, maybe we know, maybe a prayer we can pray, one that I pray often, and I'm a little afraid of the day where God actually takes me up on my request, but I ask him to help me detest my sins a little bit more like he does. I ask for a little bit more because I am weak. But we want to come face to face with this so we can truly be cleansed and purified. But our gospel today speaks again of the division and separation, and that's the work of the enemy. From Luke's gospel, we're told Jesus is driving out a demon that was mute, and then when the demon had gone, the people said, "By the power of Beelzebul, the prince of demons, he drives out demons." He does this for the work of enemies. Others, to test him, asked him for a sign from heaven, as if casting out a demon isn't already a sign. And by this point of the gospel, Jesus has already worked other signs for people to have seen. This is the problem. If we're not open to what God is giving to us, no number of signs, even if we're given a new one every day, is actually going to be enough to move our heart. All right, they might be a prompting for, but if we're not opening ourselves up, God could give us a new miracle every day, every hour, and it wouldn't change us. It's not something that's going to force us into change, it's something we have to be ready to receive. And so Jesus, knowing their thoughts, says, "Every kingdom divided against itself will be laid to waste. The house will fall against house. And if Satan is divided against himself, how will his kingdom stand?" It won't. It doesn't. They lose. They've already lost. This is what we have to realize. Satan wants division. Satan wants separation. Every division on some level is against God's perfect will. Now, as part of his passive will, he allows it to respect our free will, but his perfect will, what he primarily wants is unity. One of Jesus' final prayers in his last evening is, "Father, let them be one as we are one." Speaking of the apostles, but speaking of all of humanity. And so part of our job is, we've been talking about with love and in compassion, but with challenging words as appropriate. We are called to work for unity, talk with one another, to have conversations, to invite people to change, to allow ourselves to be invited to change, to open ourselves up to what God himself has revealed. And that's what we want to keep doing, is put ourselves at the foot of the Lord. This idea of separation and fighting, especially within the kingdom of Satan, he talks about when a strong man fully armed guards his palace, his possessions are safe. But when one stronger than he attacks and overcomes him, he takes away the armor on which he relied and distributes his spoils. And this is why it's important for us to make sure we're aligning ourselves with the God. Sometimes we can think and start to fall on our own strength, that I am good enough. We're not by ourselves. We have to have God's grace. We talked about it a few days ago. We're told very clearly, without God's help, we can do nothing. Not less, not as much. Do nothing without it. And so we have to open ourselves up to that goodness. The image that has come to me before is, as a younger man, I just want to go toe-to-toe with Satan. I know God's got my back, but I want to jump in there myself. That's stupid. He's stronger than me. Right? He doesn't have a body, but he's smarter. He doesn't need to sleep. He's been around forever. And so he's able to take me on ways I can never hope. Why I continue to give into sin, because I'm taking ownership for my choices. But he's able to put me in positions that lead me to sin. And I put myself in them because of my weakness. A good way to look at our prayer life with God is that we run so far into the loving Father's embrace is that he wraps us up in his love, and he's able to stiff arm him, because as strong as Satan is compared to us, as smart and cunning as he is to us, he's no match for the Father. He's no match. He just sort of gives him that old stiff arm that you see in cartoons where you put it up against the head and it gets swinging his arms, he can't get to it. Kind of what it is with Satan. And so the way towards protection is deeper into the Father's love. That happens primarily through prayer. One of the staples of this Lenten season.